ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಮೂರನೇದಾಗಿ ಮನ್ನಾ ಚಿನ್ನದ ಭಾಗ. ಮನ್ನಾದ ಚಿನ್ನದ ಭಾಗ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಈ 3 ವಿಷಯಗಳು ಒಡಂಬಡಿಕೆ ಪೆಟ್ಟಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ, ಇದನ್ನ ಒಡಂಬಡಿಕೆಯ ಮೇಲ್ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಚಿನ್ನದ ಚಪ್ಪಟಿಯಂತಿತ್ತು. ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ದಪ್ಪವಾದ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ಚಿನ್ನದ ಚಪ್ಪಟಿಯನ್ನ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಮುಚ್ಚಲಾಗಿತ್ತು ಮತ್ತು 2 ಬದಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಚಿನ್ನದಿಂದ ಮಾಡಿದ 2 ಕಂಬಗಳು ಇದ್ದವು. ಅವುಗಳೆಂದರೆ ಸಾಗಿಸುವ ಕಂಬಗಳು. ಚಿನ್ನದ ಲೇಪಿತ 2 ಮರದ ಕಂಬಗಳನ್ನ ಹಡಗಿನ ಬದಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಜೋಡಿಸಲಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅವುಗಳನ್ನ ಚಿನ್ನದ ಉಂಗುರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇರಿಸಲಾಯಿತು. ನಿರ್ದಿಷ್ಟ ಸೂಚನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೂ ನೀಡಲಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಇದು ಶಾಶ್ವತ ಬಾಂಧವ್ಯವನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಧ್ರುವಗಳು ಶಾಶ್ವತವಾಗಿ ಉಂಗುರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಉಳಿಯಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು. ವಿಮೋಚನಕಾಂಡ 25:15 ವಚನ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಎರಡನೇದಾಗಿ ನೇರ ಸಂಪರ್ಕವಿಲ್ಲ. ಧ್ರುವಗಳು ಮಾತ್ರ ಹಡಗನ್ನು ಸ್ಪರ್ಶಿಸಿ ನೇರ ಮಾನವ ಸಂಪರ್ಕವನ್ನ ತಡೆಯಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು. 25ನೇ ಅಧ್ಯಾಯ 14-15 ವಚನ, ಸಂಖ್ಯಾಕಾಂಡ 4ನೇ ಅಧ್ಯಾಯ 6ನೇ ವಚನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇದೆ. ಮೂರನೇದಾಗಿ ಸಾರಿಗೆ. ಕೊಹಾತ್ಯ ಕುಲದ ಲೇವಿಯರಿಗೆ ಹಡಗನ್ನ ಸಾಗಿಸಲು ಕಂಬಗಳು ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟವು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಜಪ್ಪಟಿಯ ಮೇಲೆ 2 ಕೆರುಬೀನ್ಗಳು, 6 ಕೆರುಬೀನ್ಗಳಿದ್ದವು. ಆ ಕೆರುಬೀನ್ಗಳಿಗೆ 6 ರೆಕ್ಕೆಗಳಿದ್ದವು. ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಕೆರುಬೀನ್ಗಳು ಹೊಂದಿರುತ್ತದೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ 2 ಜೋಡಿ ಕಣ್ಣುಗಳನ್ನು ಮುಚ್ಚುತ್ತಿತ್ತು, 2 ಜೋಡಿ ತಮ್ಮ ದೇಹವನ್ನ ಮುಚ್ಚುತ್ತಿತ್ತು, 2 ಜೋಡಿ ಪಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಮುಚ್ಚುತ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಒಡಂಬಡಿಕೆ ಪೆಟ್ಟಿಗೆ, ಮರ್ಸಿ ಸೀಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿದ್ದವು. ಕಿರುಬಿಗಳು ಒಬ್ಬರನ್ನೊಬ್ಬರು ಎದುರಿಸಿ ನೋಡಂಗೆ ಇತ್ತು ಆ ಇಮೇಜ್. ಮತ್ತು ಇದು ಅವರ ಇಸ್ರಾಯೇಲರೊಂದಿಗಿನ ದೇವರ ಒಡಂಬಡಿಕೆಯ ಐಕ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನ ಪ್ರತಿನಿಧಿಸುತ್ತದೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಅವರು ಒಂದು ನಿರ್ದಿಷ್ಟ ಸ್ಥಳವನ್ನ ಆವರಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದರು ಮತ್ತು ಆ ಸ್ಥಳವನ್ನ ಮರ್ಸಿ ಸೀಟ್ ಎಂದು ಕರೆಯಲಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಇದನ್ನ ಸಂಕೇತಿಸಲಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಈ ಮರ್ಸಿ ಸೀಟ್ನ ದೇವರ ಸಿಂಹಾಸನದ ಮತ್ತು ದೈವಿಕ ಉಪಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಎರಡನೇದಾಗಿ ದೇವರು ಮತ್ತು ಮಾನವ ಕುಲವ ನಡುವಿನ ಸಂಗಮ ಬಿಂದಾಗಿತ್ತು ಈ ಮರ್ಸಿ ಸೀಟ್. ಮೂರನೇದಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಾಯಶ್ಚಿತ್ತದ ಅಟಾನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಥಳ ಎಂದು ಇದನ್ನು ಕರೆಯಲಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಪಗಳು ಕ್ಷಮಿಸಲ್ಪಟ್ಟವು. ಇದು ಒಡಂಬಡಿಕೆ ಪೆಟ್ಟಿಗೆಯ ಮೂಲ ರಚನೆಯಾಗಿತ್ತು ಮತ್ತು ಇದು ದೇವರ ಉಪಸ್ಥಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಪ್ರತಿನಿಧಿಸುತ್ತದೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಒಯ್ಯುವಂತೆ ದೇವರು ಲೇವಿಯರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಆ ಹಡಗು ಮನುಷ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ತುಂಬಾ ಭಾರವಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅದನ್ನ ಎತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ದೇವರು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡಿ ಒಂದು ಜಾಗದಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಜಾಗ ಅವ್ರು ಹೋಗುವಾಗ ಒಡಂಬಡಿಕೆ ಪೆಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಎತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಅದು ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಭಾರವಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಬೇರೆ ಇವರಿಂದ ಅವರು ಅದನ್ನ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋಕ್ ಆಗ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ದೇವರೇ ಆ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ತನ್ನ ಕೆಲಸವು ಜನರ ಮೂಲಕ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತದೆ ಎಂದು ಇದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಡುತ್ತದೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ದೇವರ ಜನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಆದ್ರೆ ಆ ಜನ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ದೇವರೇ ಅವರ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನ ಅವರನ್ನ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸಿ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೋತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಇದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. We will see today about the Ark of the Covenant. We read from Exodus chapter 25 to chapter 40, one of the most sacred and mysterious objects described in the Bible. It was not merely a piece of furniture, but a very place where God's presence dwelt among his people. So as we begin, God's desire to dwell among his people. From the beginning, it was God's desire to be with his people. Exodus 28:8. Let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them, says God. So the ark became the center of his dwelling, representing his throne on earth. In the Old Testament, God's Spirit did not indwell in any believer as a New Testament, as a new covenant, but rather his presence rested in specific places, and the Ark of the Covenant was the holiest of all. So the construction of the ark, the material was used was acacia wood, which was also called as shittim wood. Exodus 25:10 we read, and this wood was known for being incorruptible, resistant to decay. And this was overlaid with pure gold inside and out, symbolizing God's divine nature covering humanity. The shape was like a rectangular chest, and inside the ark, what did the ark contain? There were the first one, the 2 stone tablets, the 10 commandments, Exodus 25:16 we read. Jewish tradition holds these were written on blue sapphire stone, a heavenly material, not an ordinary rock, symbolizing that God's law comes from God's throne itself. Secondly, Aaron's rod that budded, wooden staff that miraculously sprouted blossoms and almonds. We read in the book of Numbers 17, verse 8. This proved God's choice of the priesthood through the tribe of Levi. And the third portion is the golden pot of manna, a jar filled with manna. Exodus 16:32 to 34, we read, God's supernatural food in the wilderness, reminding Israel of his daily provision together. These symbolized God's law, priesthood, and provision, all fulfilled perfectly later. Now, the mercy seat, Exodus 25:17 to 22. The ark was covered by a solid slab of pure gold called the mercy seat. On it stood two cherubim of gold facing each other, on their wings stretched out, covering the seat. This was the throne of God on earth, the place where his glory appeared. His glory, in Hebrew, they would call it Shekinah, appeared. It was a meeting point where God and man met, where God said that I will meet with you and I will commune with you from above the mercy seat, says Exodus 25:22. Now, once a year, on the Day of Atonement, we read in Leviticus chapter 16, blood was sprinkled on the mercy seat for forgiveness. Now, the cherubim detail is cherubim over the mercy seat, I said, reflected the heavenly throne room. We can read in Exodus 25, also compare it with Ezekiel chapter 1 and also Revelation chapter 4 and 5. Now, what Moses saw on Mount Sinai was a vision of heaven itself, and the ark was a miniature earthly model of God's heavenly throne. Carrying the ark. Now, God gave specific instructions about how the ark was to be moved. The poles of acacia wood overlaid with gold were placed in 4 golden rings on its sides. Now, the poles were never to be removed. It was a permanent reminder that God's presence is always on the move with his people. And lastly, no one was to touch the ark directly. Only the Levites of the Kohathite clan would carry it on their shoulders. We read about this in the book of Numbers, chapter 4, verse 15. Now, the ark was extremely heavy. I said gold slab, acacia overlay. Humanly, it was impossible to carry such a weight constantly across the wilderness. Yet, God promised his help. In reality, it was God who carried his ark himself. We read about this in Deuteronomy chapter 131 and also for Samuel chapter 4, verse 4 to 5. Hence, at his power, moving with it. So, this teaches us that God's work is never carried by human strength alone. He himself upholds it. The ark in Israel's journey, whenever the ark set out, Moses prayed, Rise up, O Lord, let your enemies be scattered. We read about this in Numbers chapter 10, verse 35. Next, at the Jordan River, the water stopped when the priests carried the ark when they stepped in. We read about this in Joshua chapter 3, 15 to 16. Next is at Jericho. The ark circled the city and the walls fell. We read about this in the book of Joshua chapter 6, 6 to 20. And lastly, even when enemies captured it, 1 Samuel chapter 4, the ark judged the Philistines, toppling their idol Dagon and striking their cities with plagues, 1 Samuel chapter 5. So this is the significance the ark played in Israel's life. The ark was never just a chest, it was a sign of God's living presence and power. What are the spiritual insights of this acacia wood and gold? Humanity clothed in divinity. Secondly, the ark's contents, law, priesthood, and provision. Third, mercy seat, blood covering the law. Carrying poles, God's presence is always with his people, even on the move. Lastly, weight of the ark, humanly impossible to carry. God himself carries his work through each one of us. Takeaway for us today, Ark of the Covenant reminds us God is holy yet merciful. He dwells not in temples made by hands, but now in our hearts through his Spirit. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16. The mighty works of God are not done by our strength, but by his power through us. Lastly, wherever God's presence goes, obstacles fall, enemies scatter, and his people find provision and victory. So for today, for us, dear friends, just as the ark went before Israel, let God's presence go before you and me in every area of our life. His presence is surely a real victory. Amen. And that's a basic detail about Ark of the Covenant. questions for today? Anything